Now let's go through the actual experiment tool so you can understand how it's laid out and where you find different places for the data you're going to get. So we're going to talk about where you locate the experiment section to begin with, and then once you go into it, what do you see when it comes to basic overviews of your results and what's running. I'm going to take you through two different ways to find this. Google's in the middle of updating its interface, so it's a little bit different depending on which one your account has. The Experiments interface is in the left-hand margin in your traditional Google Ads view. I'm going to show you where it is in the new one as well, but you may have to click See More or Show More. Sometimes it gets hidden in the little drop-down list there. So if you don't see it immediately in the left hand, just click that expansion button and you'll see it pop up. There are submenus within the experiment section. So this is going to open a pane of your experiments on the right once you click on the experiments area. The submenu is going to show up below it. If you have the new updated interface, there is not going to be a submenu there. I'm going to show you what it looks like in this new view, which eventually every account will have. So in the new view, experiments still exist in the campaign section on the left-hand margin. The difference is the submenu no longer shows in that left-hand menu. It now appears in the pane that shows where your experiments are, and it shows it all across the top. You'll understand a little bit more about those experiment types, but for now, just know that if there's no submenu on the left in the new view, it exists along the top. As you launch new experiments, they're going to appear in a list in that middle pane. Clicking on the name is going to take you into the experiment, and it'll show you all the details, the settings, and the results of that particular experiment. If you're running an experiment and you click into it, you're going to see a status, so it'll say it's still in progress. It will also show when it's supposed to end and what dates it's comparing. And then it's also going to show you what the most current results are. Those will change over time if the experiment is still running, but it's a nice way to just get a snapshot of where things stand today. When you look at a running experiment, you can also then, below it, pick the dates that you want to look at. Most times you're going to look at the entire life of the experiment, but if you need to filter for any reason for dates, you absolutely can. You'll always see your base and your trial, then you'll see the cost, the average CPC, basically any of the columns that you decide to choose are going to be there. Your comparisons are going to depend on how you set it up. So if you say, I want to look at cost per conversion or conversion value over cost, you can add those columns and you'll be able to see the difference between your base campaign, which is the original campaign you've been running, and then your trial campaign, which is your experiment. All along the bottom, you're going to see where the statistical significance lies. This is really important because you don't want to make decisions too quickly with small amounts of data. So Google will note for you what the differences are and how confident it is at a 95% interval. If it's to the point where you can make a decision and you think, yes, I either want to apply these changes or this is not going well at all and I just want to go ahead and end it, you can actually do that right there in the interface as well. Up at the top where it shows you the status and the overall snapshot of what's happening, there is a button to apply the experiment and there's also one to end the experiment. When you do this, you have the option to just roll over the new changes into the existing campaign, or it'll also give you the option to create the experiment campaign as a brand new campaign with a fresh start. It doesn't really matter which one you do, but just keep in mind that it might not be obvious in the account history if you applied an experiment. So if results suddenly drastically change because you applied it, it's not going to be evident to somebody looking at that. So you may want to put a notation in the account or something else that just notes that you decided to apply an experiment, so in the future you won't forget that that's what you did. So to recap, Experiments has a submenu based on the types of experiments you can run, and we're going to cover those a little more in depth next. Clicking into the experiment will show you its current status, learnings, metrics, and statistical significance calculation. You can let the experiment keep running if it's not over yet, but if you see something you do or don't like, you can still go ahead and apply the changes from the experiment campaign or go ahead and end it early if you're not happy with what you're seeing.